Hey, everybody, just want to give a little bit of a heads up. This episode contains some mature themes, so if you are listening with little ones around, this may be one to skip. And there are some intense things, so if you're not ready for something related to assault, this may be one that you may personally want to skip.
Welcome to the Bible Savvy Podcast, a weekly conversation about how to understand, enjoy, and apply God's Word. It's time to jump into a new passage from the Bible Savvy reading plan.
Hey, everybody. I'm here with Pastor Courtney and Pastor David, and let's get started with a question, David. What do we got today?
Well, guys, happy Thanksgiving week. It's turkey time.
All right.
Or cranberry sauce time, or some people like stuffing. I don't personally, but you know,
bread soaked in juice. It's everything we ever
the
wanted.
weirdest food ever.
So good.
We're not okay. We could get into another food debate, but we're not going to this time. This week I decided to change things up. I'm pulling the classic parent thing at the Thanksgiving dinner. Before you can eat, before you can open your Bibles today, you need to share something that you are thankful for this year. So we're gonna have
before you can eat. Does your mom hold you hostage? First.
Did your mom not hold you hostage?
Oh, we do it after.
Oh no,
Which I'm realizing is probably a
thing.
dumb idea because we're all asleep. But like, oh wow. Okay, so what we're thankful for?
Yeah. What are you thankful for this year?
Yes. Well, the Wilson family actually does this as well. And we have this little pilgrim hat that my husband made when he was a child. And it has beans in it. And you have to put a bean in the hat and say what you're thankful for. So this is like the Wilson family.
Oh, another holiday tradition from the Wilson family.
I could pull out Jared's little pilgrim hat and it would be so cute. But my thing that I'm thankful for this year is that I have 4 kids. They are, 3 of them are not, they're off in college and grown and real jobs and things like that. And they're all following Jesus. And I just love getting together with them. Like I'm looking forward to for Thanksgiving. They're all jumping in the car with us and we're going to the one that can't get away from college long enough and spending time with him. And they all volunteer in their churches, attend church. My daughter, volunteers here at Christ Community and, they all love Jesus and they like us. And so it's kind of fun to have kids of those ages and to know that a lot of work went into that. But I'm super thankful for that and for them. So
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm thankful. I'll do 2 things. Kind of in work setting, church setting. This has been a big year for our church, and we obviously had a leadership transition and all sorts of things happening, opening at campus. Just a lot of stuff has happened, and you brace yourself for those sorts of things. Not that you expect it to go bad, but you expect it to be really hard. But this has been a truly delightful year. It doesn't mean it wasn't hard work, but things have gone so well. And the team is super healthy and the ministries are thriving and it's so much fun. So I'm really thankful for that because I was ready for this year to be all right, this is going to be a good one, but we're going to and I'm this is so good. I feel like it's awesome. So excited about that. On the personal side, I like hanging out with my kids. It is so fun. And this year, they discovered Lord of the Rings. So the last several months, my girls read the books. We watched the movies together. We've been playing games together. It is all hobbits all the time in our house. And to share something that I love with my kids, they love Jesus and they also love nerdy things.
all the time. I can't.
Hers was love Jesus and like mom and dad.
And
Yours
like
is love Jesus and like
Love
Frodo.
the Hobbits.
Like Frodo. Samwise. They'll tell you. They'll let you know. One of them's a Pippin fan, but the fact that we can share things that we like sometimes you're hanging out with your kids with things they like, and that's fun. But when you can both like the same things,
we all run 5Ks together. So
yeah, no, that's weird. You should read 1,000-page books together,
and we're elf ears. No.
What about you, David? Well, sticking with the family theme a little bit, my wife and I just celebrated 14 years of marriage, which is pretty wild because it feels like we just got married yesterday, but wanted to give her a little shout out to Nicole, and I'm just grateful for her. She loves Jesus. She's a great mom. She's a champion of a wife. She shoulders a lot. A lot of people don't know who she is around the church. They don't realize how much burdens she carries as well as part of just a role of just being a wife of a pastor, but she does it so graciously, and she's a lot of fun. She makes me laugh, and we have a lot of shared interests. We love the Cubs. We love a lot of the same things, which is great. So just grateful for marriage this year.
That's awesome. All right, we are going to take kind of a hard turn here from something that's warm and just heartwarming to honestly the most horrific passage in the Bible. So this is just another heads up here. If you are with little ones, this is probably not a passage that is going to be easy for little kids to hear. And also, this is a passage that deals with physical and sexual assault. So there's some gross stuff in here. And if you're not ready for that, this is not a good time or place for you to do that. This may be one you want to skip or come back to when it's better for you. So we're going to be in Judges 19. Let me give some context for this. We have been talking about how the book of Judges is a cycle. It keeps going round and round, and the people rebel, they get rescued, they do all right for a while, and on and on and on. We've also described it a bit as a toilet bowl because it's not just going around; it's going down. And let's just be honest, this is the turd at the bottom of the toilet bowl. Like this is the clog, right? This is the problem. So things have gotten so bad, and when we read this. A lot of times people are very uncomfortable with what they read and they say, why is this here? And it really helps to know that this is, I don't want to say the climax of the story in the book of Judges, but it really is the culmination of this downward spiral that we've been on, which is why things are so intense. So we're going to read this, Judges 19.
In those days, Israel had no king. Now a Levite who lived in a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, but she was unfaithful to him. She left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem, Judah. After she had been there 4 months, her husband went to her to persuade her to return. He had with him his servant and 2 donkeys. She took him into her parents' home, and when her father saw him, he gladly welcomed him. His father-in-law, the woman's father, prevailed on him to stay, so he remained with him 3 days, eating and drinking and sleeping there. On the 4th day they got up early, and he prepared to leave. But the woman's father said to his son-in-law, "Refresh yourself with something to eat, then you can go." So the 2 of them sat down to eat and drink together. Afterward, the woman's father said, "Please stay tonight and enjoy yourself." And when the man got up to go, his father-in-law persuaded him, so he stayed there that night. On the morning of the 5th day, when he rose to go, the woman's father said, "Refresh yourself, wait until afternoon." So the 2 of them ate together. Then, when the man, with his concubine and his servant, got up to leave, his father-in-law, the woman's father, said, "Now look, it's almost evening. Spend the night here. The day is nearly over. Stay and enjoy yourself. Early tomorrow morning you can get up and be on your way home." But, unwilling to stay another night, the man left and went toward Jabus, that is, Jerusalem, with his 2 saddled donkeys and his concubine. When they were near Jabus and the day was almost gone, the servant said to his master, "Come, let's stop at this city of the Jebusites and spend the night." His master replied, "No, we won't go into any city whose people are not Israelites. We will go on to Gibeah." He added, "Come, let's try to reach Gibeah or Ramah and spend the night in one of those places." So they went on, and the sun set as they neared Gibeah and Benjamin. There they stopped to spend the night. They went and sat in the city square, but no one took them in for the night. That evening, an old man from the hill country of Ephraim who was living in Gibeah, the inhabitants of the place were Benjamites, came in from his work in the fields. When he looked and saw the traveler in the city square, the old man asked, "Where are you going? Where did you come from?" He answered, "We are on our way from Bethlehem in Judah to a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim where I live. I have been to Bethlehem in Judah and now am going to the house of the Lord. No one has taken me in for the night. We have both straw and fodder for our donkeys and bread and wine for ourselves, your servants, me, the woman, and the young man with us. We don't need anything." "You are welcome at my house," the old man said. "Let me supply whatever you need. Only don't spend the night in the square." So he took him into his house and fed his donkeys. After they had washed their feet, they had something to eat and drink. While they were enjoying themselves, some wicked men of the city surrounded the house. Pounding on the door, they shouted to the old man who owned the house, "Bring out the man who came to your house so we can have sex with him." The owner of the house went outside and said to them, "No, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this outrageous thing. Look, here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing." But the men would not listen to him. So the man took his concubine and sent her outside to them, and they raped her and abused her throughout the night, and at dawn they let her go. At daybreak, the woman went back to the house where her master was staying, fell down at the door, and lay there until daylight. When her master got up in the morning and opened the door of the house and stepped out to continue on his way, there lay his concubine, fallen in the doorway of the house, with her hands on the threshold. He said to her, "Get up, let's go." But there was no answer. Then the man put her on his donkey and set out for home. When he reached home, he took a knife and cut up his concubine, limb by limb, into 12 parts and sent them into all the areas of Israel. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, "Such a thing has never been seen or done, not since the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt. Just imagine. We must do something, so speak up."
All right. Well, we're going to make some observations here. Lots of different things to see. What do you guys notice in this passage?
Yeah, verse 1, I think, sets the stage really clearly for us. It says, "In those days, Israel had no king." So it feels almost unrelated to the story, but clearly the author is saying, well, hey, Israel had no king, and this is how bad it gets when Israel doesn't have a king.
Yeah, I think that's such an important context. If you listen to the stuff that Sandy Richter did for us, the episode where she did the overview of Judges, she talks about how this is one of the big points is to say this is a place that needs someone to come bring it in line, and not having a king there. When I heard that line, when I read that line, and then reading the rest of it, I thought of the picture of the ideal king that the Bible presents. And there's actually a Psalm 72 that is describing like the kind of idealized version of the king. And it says, "He will deliver the needy who cry out, the afflicted who have no one to help. He will take pity on the weak and the needy and save the needy from death. He will rescue them from oppression and violence, for precious is their blood in his sight." And so like this is a story that shows like if you actually had a leader who would care for the vulnerable, these things that he would do something to make sure this wasn't happening in the country. And so even though the rest of the story doesn't ever mention a king, you're supposed to be thinking someone ought to do something about this. And the answer by the end of the book is, well let's find a king to do that.
A king. Now, in the also verse 1, right there in the beginning, it says, "Now a Levite who lived in a remote area took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah." Talk about that a little bit. That's like we need a little cultural defining, I feel like. Hey, Clayton, talk
what's
about
a concubine?
concubines.
Oh, good. Yeah. I once heard someone say that the only Bible question that a parent dreads more than what's the Trinity is what's a concubine?
I mean, there's
like,
a few. There's a few other
those
terms. Yeah.
So the way to think about this. So our immediate thought is something like a sex slave. Like, I mean, that's, like a personal harem kind of thing. That's not what's going on in this. And in most cases, the typical idea of a concubine has more to do with, it's like a marriage, but it's a second class marriage. So it would be a status thing. Presumably, he would have another wife who would be the more official legal wife, and a concubine would be like a second wife, but it would affect inheritance and those sorts of things. So if like a king has a concubine, the child of that concubine might not be in line for the throne, that sort of thing. So there are some kind of like legal things, but in terms of, there's nothing ideal about it. But in the ancient world, it would have been an understandable, if not, I don't know how common it was, but it was at least normal to say, well, you have this wife and she has a different status than your other wife in terms of legal standing and those sorts of things. So, it's not a good look for the Levite, even though there's more cultural normalcy around it than for us. It's still, you're looking at a Levite and you're saying, oh, this is a Levite, and then he went and did this or whatever. And so you're supposed to be thinking, this guy's supposed to be the right example.
Yep.
And right next to it is something that seems pretty fishy.
And he's never named the whole time. It's just he's the Levite. So every time we think about this, we're like, this is the Levite. This is the guy supposed to be setting the stage for worship and offerings to the Lord.
Yeah.
And this seems incorrect, right?
Yeah.
Like I think Dr. Richter in that interview, which is again, I think we can shout it out 100 times because people need to go listen to it if they haven't.
Please.
But I think she said something like when she talks to her students in class, she goes, "When you hear Levite, do you think good guy or bad guy?" And everyone's like, "Good guy." And here in the story, we think, this doesn't feel like a good guy.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's no names makes it so that it's not just one bad actor. It's not like, oh yeah, like Joe the bad Levite. Well, all it's like no. This is like characterizing Levites in general in this era. Yeah, you're supposed to think, man, it got bad.
Yeah. The verse 2, I mean, I almost feel like you can go verse by verse here. Says, but she was unfaithful to him, and that she left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem, Judah. Again, shout out to the Sandra Richter interview, but she talked about maybe that was for safety, maybe that wasn't, maybe unfaithfulness isn't the way that we would think of that as well.
She goes to her parents' home. She doesn't go to some other man's home. So it doesn't seem to be sexual unfaithfulness. It seems like she's saying, I'm bound to this man, but I don't want to be here. So I'm going to go back to the other place that I would be safe. Yeah. Which obviously implies something's not good about his home.
Yeah.
Yes. But then she does go back home, and after she'd been there 4 months, her husband persuades her to return, and immediately, like, he's taken into the home, and they welcome him. And then there's this kind of keep staying, like, stay one more night, come back, which is just striking to me.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a repeated phrase, like, just stay here,
Yeah.
it's safe.
Yeah.
I'll protect you. Stay here. Stay one more night. Stay. Yeah.
It sounds a little bit like, I go to my mother-in-law's house and they made a big meal and she's like, oh, do you want some more? You want some more to eat? Oh, there's some more. Then we got more. Hey, another helping, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that it's like night after night after night. So there's that like really clear level of hospitality. What's interesting is things go bad when he stops listening to the father-in-law. I heard I had a professor who said that she had taught this to a group of African students. And it's sometimes very interesting when you're in different cultural contexts, what details become very obvious to some people versus another group of people, it's not as obvious. And they said, she asked, like, what went wrong here? And they said, well, they didn't listen to their dad. Which, like, in a culture that says, no, like, the head of household, the authority there would be someone who is older and wiser, and you should take them seriously. And as soon as you stop listening to the wisdom of your elders, things start to unravel. And so we think, oh, well, it's probably something else, like later on. No, they're saying, no, he's invited them to stay, and they disregarded it. And so there's something in there. I think it's interesting that it's the family language. Again, it's not names. It emphasizes husband, father, wife, like father-in-law. All of these things are very like relational, connected. These are the people you're bound to and ought to be caring for you, which is a huge contrast. So you get these like this over-the-top hospitality, and you get these committed family relationships at the beginning of the story, and then the second half of the story, it's the complete reverse. It's like such a contrast in there.
Well, and I think that contrast is so significant because here the concubine, like, she's so safe in her father's home.
Yeah.
Like, he's protecting her. She's under his covering. She's within the home, and there is safety there, and there's it's this feeling of, when you love your kids, right? Like, I if I could be like, okay, just stay a little bit longer, right? When they're home, it's like, okay, but just stay a little longer. Maybe you could stay a little longer, maybe just a little longer, And you feel that in her father, this safety, which I think is what makes the second part of the story all the more jarring, is because it's like she had safety. She had someone who's protecting her. She had someone who's covering her. She was in the threshold of her home, and things felt good and safe. And then when she's removed from that, the safety goes away. Like, it's gone.
Right. But like in verse 12, like they're leaving, they're going, and the guy, the Levite, says, no, we're not going into any city whose people are not Israelites. Like there is at least an awareness of like, it's not safe unless we are with our people, unless we are with Israel. So it's a very shocking thing then to say, no, they passed by other places that were very clearly unsafe and landed in a place that was probably the most dangerous for them, which was with their own people. Which I think the author is just like pulling us in, saying, no, they did the theoretical correct thing, and yet things have gotten so bad in Israel, they're not even safe there.
Yeah. When it says, bad. But no one took them in. So we don't think about it because we think, well, just find a place to stay. There's probably a hotel somewhere. Well, in the ancient world, and even still today in many places in the Middle East, like hospitality is assumed. And so if you're going to stay someplace in that day and age, you would go to someone's home and it'd be normal that, oh, there's a traveler. Like if I was traveling someplace, I wouldn't want to be stuck out there. So I'm going to invite you in and we'll take care of you. But even their own people, no one would take them in.
Yeah.
It's like a very telling line.
Well, you mentioned the Levite not having a name, but I had some notes of my anti-observations, the things that aren't there, because I think sometimes, we look for themes and repeating words and phrases and truths about God and something striking. Sometimes what's striking is what's not there that you would think should be there. So some of those were that no one has names. There are no names given for anyone. And the concubine, she never speaks. She doesn't have a voice in the entire passage. Like she's kind of a pawn in this. Like she doesn't have a voice. And then the only mention of God in any way is in verse 18, which is just, I've been to Bethlehem in Judah and now I'm going to the house of the Lord. But otherwise, in those days, Israel had no king. Like he's not there. So just some of the things that I noticed. And again, as you're making observations, looking for things that sometimes what's striking is what's not there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, as it gets into the worst part of this, the striking thing is that the man who takes them in offers his own daughter to these men. Like it is unfathomable evil that I'm thinking. One, and I don't know, like culturally, protecting your guests, there was some pressure there, but it still feels like that is just not ever the correct move. It feels cowardly, and how quickly the Levite then offered the concubine. It's just, the men protecting themselves and just, using women as resources in the moment. It's just disgusting.
Yeah,
it's very striking.
Yeah, the whole scene is meant to evoke another even more famous passage in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, when the angels go to tell Lot, who's the guy who lives in Sodom, hey, you got to get out of here. They come and they do the whole deal. They're in the city square. They're going to stay. He invites them in, and then a mob comes and pounds on the door to assault them, and then this is the situation where it's like, well, Sodom and Gomorrah is the worst, right? Like there's nothing, like it's the symbol of what goes wrong in a world and not the way not to be. And here's Israel mimicking it perfectly and even worse, right? The things that happen are just insane. And what I find outrageous is that it keeps saying, don't do this outrageous thing. Like the old man's like, how bad could you be that you would assault my guest? Don't do this outrageous thing. Take my daughter. Like what sense of outrage do you have? Like what are you actually outraged by? It's so bad.
Yeah. Well, and just I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. Well, again, that's the theme of Judges. Everybody did what was right in their own eyes. Everybody did whatever they wished. And he's playing right into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think an observation I have is the very, just like the sad moment of when the morning comes. It says at daybreak, the woman went back to her house where her master was staying. So the first thing is like, he was called husband in the first half, and he's called master in the second half.
Oh yeah.
And then she falls down at the door, and it's almost like I was almost to safety.
Yep.
Right? Like the door is the thing that protects you from the outside world.
Yep.
And she's there on the threshold between danger and safety. And she's just like, ooh, reaching out, you know, and barely there. And then he like basically steps over her body. You know what I mean? Like it's just...
It implies that he slept through the night.
Yes.
It's the morning. He just...
that's something that Dr. Richter said too. She said, I always point out that he slept. You slept while that was going on?
Yes.
Like, I mean, that it's wild to me. And I think that's, it's a level of evil that you shouldn't understand.
Yeah.
It's the, it's the question of, I was teaching the kids a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the knowledge of good and evil, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And why would God not want you to eat of that? And I'm like, because he doesn't want you to understand evil. Like you shouldn't understand it. That means you experience it. And if you experience it and you understand it, then that makes me nervous. So when parents will ask me if something will happen that feels pretty evil, and they'll be like, what do I tell my kids? I'm like, well, they're going to ask you why. And you should look at them and say, I don't know, because I don't understand this level. I don't understand evil. And I'm glad I don't, because if I did, I might start to bend to it. I might start to compromise to it. And so I just think like this is one of those instances where we look at it and we are just mind blown, and we should be. Like you should be mind blown. It should hurt your heart that this woman was at the threshold, that she was in her father's home, safe, fed, warm, wanted, and then she's completely unwanted, cast out, and sitting at her hand is at the threshold, and that this man slept soundly, who was supposed to keep her safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really wise when you tell people you can't always get a why on the evil things in the world. When I teach on the problem of evil, I often tell people like there's a reason why people have been asking the question, why does God allow bad things to happen, and all that stuff. And we don't have an answer that's like, oh, case closed. We've solved it. Here's the answer. I'll tell you once and you'll be fine. It's because God doesn't want us to be okay with evil, which the philosophical question must remain, because if we could explain it, then we'd be like, oh, I guess it's not so bad.
Yep.
And we're not morally capable of having that edge taken off. Yeah. So you're right. That's wise. Let's talk about the chopping up. This is very weird.
Yes.
And I do not know if I have a total explanation for it culturally. Like I don't know enough of the cultural background, but I know of other stories in the Bible where things like this happen. So there's a story, and I think I saw this in a footnote of a study Bible that I looked in, that they had at one point someone was saying, I need all of you to send your army out to come fight with me. Like, I don't know if it was Saul or somebody was trying to say, I need your help, send out your troops from all the different villages or whatever. And he cuts up an animal and sends it to the people and says, if you don't come and help me, this is what's going to happen to you. And so it's like a threat, a curse, a warning. And so this is sort of like that. But it is very weird that he would, like, first of all, like, you didn't disrespect bodies of your people in those days. But then to send this around and almost be like, hey, aren't you outraged by this thing that happened? Like, he actually says, just imagine, we must do something. So speak up, right? Like, that's the conclusion. It's like, hang on a second, dude.
You could have.
What we must speak up, like speak up then, not not blame these people. And so it is like the moral instincts of this is so messed up. And what's messed up about it is not that they're wholly bad; it's that they're selectively outraged and not outraged at the actual roots of the problem, which they're complicit in, but they're outraged at some of these outcomes, and they're saying, "Of course, this is horrible." And okay. But then this is where you say, why did Israel include this book in the Bible? Because God knew, and wise people from the past knew, that if you didn't take a look at this and say, wow, how messed up are they? Well, it's not there so that you get to judge people from the past. It's so that you ask the question, like, do I do this?
Yeah.
Where are we? Outraged about certain things, but not about things that if we were outraged, we'd have to do something about. We'd have to take ownership of. It's a It's a painful thing. All right. We are going to go on to one of the M's in common. We're going to talk about meditation first. And truth be told, this is an almost impossible one to figure out a meditation for. It doesn't have some great line to ponder. It's, narratives. You say, well, put yourself in the situation. What would you experience? Probably not the best one, most enjoyable one to do that. Although there may be some value in saying, what should I have felt? What should I have done if I were in that situation? But this is one where I think simply taking the posture of lament, of saying, if this is what the world is like, I should cry out to God, this is not okay. And so 45 seconds is barely enough time to do that justice, but we're going to give you 45 seconds now to lament evil that you see in the world, and injustice and violence and things that you see in the world. All right, let's turn to the other M in comma. Let's talk about message.
Yeah, my message comes from that very first statement. In those days, Israel had no king. And my message was, we need a king. When God is absent, the strong oppress the weak. I actually had also looked up the description of the king in Psalms, and I just kept thinking, so if this is what it's like when Israel has no king, what does a king provide? What is that? And had looked at that same thing. The strong oppress the weak when there is no king. So, when there is a king, they advocate on behalf of the weak. And so my message was truly like, we have a king. It's not something to be silent about, but the short message is, we need a king. One thing that did strike me too, that, I didn't really mention before, but how Israel treats their women shows their heart for God.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, again, as I read this, that's where that message became really clear, is that we need a king. That is what's absent from here. That's what's strikingly missing. And so, yeah, that was my message. I can go more into application, but that was my message.
Yeah, my message in a similar vein is just, there's no hope in man. There's no hope in man. Like, the moment man does what he wants, everyone does as they saw fit, is the theme of Judges. That's when people suffer. So putting my hope in man, and that includes myself, like hope in myself to be the right judge of morality is not worth it. There's no hope in man.
Yeah. My message is, if we don't face the worst of our community, we'll remain blind to our true need and the real solution. I look at this, it's almost at the meta level of like, why was this story included? And again, it's because it's a mirror, and it's so painful to look at, right? It's the part where we're like, could I skip that reading? Can we avoid that? We obviously edit this when we're doing with children and that sort of thing.
We don't go past about Judges 7, I think, with the kids, just so parents know.
But we still say, well, why would we do that? Why would we read this story? And I think the answer is, if you pretend like the things that actually happen in the world, and even in your community, your society, aren't happening, well, then you will never recognize the real problem. It's like saying, well, I don't want to go to the doctor because I might find out that this thing is bad. Well, guess what? If you don't do that, you still have the problem, and you just are like pretending like it's not there. It's the reason why we watch movies about the Holocaust or slavery or racism or whatever, or a story about someone's experience of abuse. Like you pay attention to those things, not because you're like, what I really want to do? I want to spend money to go to a movie theater and just be sad for 2 hours. But we give awards to those kinds of movies because we say it's good for us to say, this is what we're capable of. And this is the real issue in the world. We can be oblivious to it for a long time. So if we don't face the worst of our community, we'll remain blind to our true need and the real solution. Let's turn to the A and comma application. What do we do?
So my message was we need a king and we have a king, and that's not something to be silent about. What we know in Judges is that there was a lack of telling the story of what God had done. So there was a generation that had forgotten what had happened, what God had done, and they'd turned away. So my application was know what God says and what he's done about injustice and do it. So where there are weak, go to those places. I made the statement, is how Israel treats women shows their heart for God. Well, how we treat the least among us shows our heart for God. So for me, like that looks like where are the places and spaces that I could step in and that I could show my heart for God by the way that I treat the most vulnerable among us, the people who don't have a voice. So that can look like, volunteering with some of our population that has some special needs, just giving them value and giving them a voice, making sure they feel loved and well treated. That might look like, for someone that might look like we have a partner with Naomi's house where, we work with people who've been through sex trafficking and things like that. So I just think to find that place, know what God says and what he's done about injustice, and then go do it. Well, he says, you go to those people, you care for them, you give them a voice. And so again, there's lots of ways that can look to value life. But, for me, it's finding those specific spaces and giving people value, showing that they have value.
Yeah. All right. So my message was there's no hope in man. And my application is to remind myself of God's kingship every morning. I think it's a really subtle thing, but I think it's easy to slip into this practical lived reality where I'm the king of my own life. I decide, what am I doing today? Who am I going to eat lunch with? Or what would make me feel comfortable and good? And it's subtle, but we end up kind of, we say, oh, we worship Jesus, but I'm still king, and so I think there's like an invitation every morning to wake up and be like, I don't want to do what is right in my own eyes, like Judges. I want to make God king. So I need to remind myself, okay, God, you are king. What would you like with me today? Here's what's on my calendar. What's your agenda? What would you like with these moments, so that I'm not just doing what seems right, because ultimately God makes all the decisions.
My message is that if we don't face the worst of our community, we'll remain blind to our true need and the real solution. And so the application really is to face the truth at multiple levels. So it's facing the truth about yourself, to say, it's really appealing to me to be able to describe my life of like, look at all these things that I really do well and I value and I pull off, and then to act like the other things are aberrations, that the negative parts of who I am and what I've done are like, well, that's not the norm. Like the norm is the good stuff. This is kind of, well, that's an unusual situation. Well, I gotta look at both. Same thing with your family life. You say, okay, like this is what my life was like growing up, and these are the things that my family did, and this is the way we related to each other, and this was how we were. It was really awesome and dysfunctional. Got to process that. With your church, just be honest, with your community, your nation, your history. There's something about Israel saying, we're going to fill our book with all our writings, with all of the bad stuff. It's the most embarrassing history in all of the ancient world. Like every other ancient people said, we're just going to tell you the glory, and we're probably going to make the glory even seem even greater than it actually is. And they're like, we're going to tell you the bad, and we're going to make the bad look as bad as possible, which is a truly bizarre instinct. It can only make sense if you say, at the end of the day, it's not me. I need to face the truth so that I can actually get the solution. And so we need to do that, to say, if I'm going to own the glory, I got to own the shame too. And at the end of the day, the real solution is not going to be me. It's going to be God. And the only way I do that is by looking at the reality of me, so that I will actually turn to the reality of God.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Join us again next Monday for a new episode where we'll be looking at another passage from the Bible Savvy reading schedule. And in the meantime, if you're not following along with the reading plan, check out BibleSavvy.com. Also, you can subscribe and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening or watching on. Email us your questions or suggestions at podcast@BibleSavvy.com. Lastly, tell your friends, and we'll talk to you next week.